The recovery, life after heartbreak. Have you ever asked the question, how in the world am I supposed to move on from this? Perhaps this is the loss of a loved one, a spouse, a child. Perhaps the heartbreak came from a strenuous relationship, be it romantic, familial, be it something that happened in your corporate career. Whatever has caused you heartbreak, you are in the right place, because here at The Recovery, you are going to find love, support, and you are going to recover. You're going to hear stories of those who have experienced transformation and restoration. You'll also hear stories of those who will never see either of those things. Yet, there is life after their heartbreak. If you'd like to tell your story, please click the link in the bio to apply to be on the podcast. And if you are chosen, you will hear from one of our team members. Thank you in advance for listening. And be sure to click the subscribe link so that you can subscribe and remain up to date on all of our new episodes and everything else that is The Recovery. Great day and welcome back to the podcast, The Recovery, Life After Heartbreak. You are here with your host, Vivian Bell.
And CiCe.
And we are here today to talk to you guys about the title, The Bouquet of Flags. Sierra and I were recently talking, and we had a previous coworker, someone we had hired to help us in a department that we were working in. And we just had some girl talk one day, and she was saying how about this guy she dated, and she was telling us how they broke up, and she's like, it's okay. She was like, he showed up like the rest of them have with his bouquet of red flags, and I took that bouquet as if it was roses and put it in water and blah, 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 blah. And I nurtured it and I did all these things. And of course it was a metaphor, but she was being honest, and she was saying, look, there were signs, there were things that were there that I saw that I chose to ignore. And so I think that sometimes I know that we see things in people, but because we may be insecure in an area, or we're not real solid on who we are, who God is calling us to be in a season, we will quickly ignore their red flags because we have brought ourselves to a place of believing that we're either not worthy of enough, or our vision of ourselves is so warped by our insecurities that we just consider that to be normal. What's your thoughts in reference to that?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I got caught up on the fact, like on the fact of when the analogy that use like a bouquet of flowers and then it put water in it, and and like flowers grow. So like just imagine, like, I know, I'm sorry y'all, I'm kind of random, but anyway, it's just imagining like the red flags growing, like, and I thought about that, like, just like, and then I'm pretty sure it comes to a point where it's like, they're red flags, but maybe they're like the if you guys ever played The Sims, there's a cow plant. That cow plant is huge. Like, and it will, if you don't feed it or whatever, it'll eat your sim. But anyway, so like, think about it. I want you, if you guys want to, Google what a cow plant for The Sims look like compared to an actual sim. They're about the same size as a sim. So think about it. If those that bouquet, like the red flags are so small and you keep watering them, and it comes to that size of that cow plant compared to the Sims, it might overtake you.
Girl, listen, you gotta preach. I know you had a preacher in there on the inside of you. Bless God.
But that's where you need to get those red flags out of the water. You need to cut them up, put it in an incinerator, because flags, those poles, they're most likely wood. Put it in a wood chipper.
I absolutely love how you jumped on that analogy and gave a new one, because I literally had not looked at it that way. Because when she said, she's like, I take them and I put them in a vase and I water them and I do this and I do that. The reality is that when we know that there are things that are happening and we don't say anything about them, or we at least don't set up boundaries to keep those things out of our safe space, and they will become something that will stay with us. And it's crazy because every time, as you said, this past weekend, Sierra and I were talking, a couple had said to us, hey, we listen to the podcast. We love it. It blesses us. Like, we love love the length of the podcast. We love y'all's genuine, your authenticity, how y'all just have a mother-daughter conversation. And so Sierra was saying how it's crazy how almost every single time we're on the podcast, she's walked through that particular thing that the subject is. And it was crazy because I woke up Monday morning after Sunday night. I had this dream, and so I dream and I have visions and all those things. God has given me that, but in this, sometimes I have a dream and it's like you don't seek God, or like what is the definition of this. But this dream, I knew God was speaking to me in the dream while I was dreaming it. But what I felt like he was saying wasn't in agreement with what was happening in the dream. And so I woke up and immediately I said, God, I need to know what this dream means. I need you to make this clear to me. And I wasn't moving until he did. And immediately he says, be careful of what you come in agreement with about yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, okay. But even though he gave me that warning, I didn't. Sometimes we can, so back to the red flags. So a particular situation, there had been red flags in that situation previously over years. But there were times where God would speak to me and say, hey, I didn't tell that person to tell you that, or I didn't tell that person to do that. But I never said to the person, hey, you lying. Or I didn't say to the person, hey, that God didn't tell me the same thing he told you. I just prayed about it and I moved on. Well, fast forward 6, 7, 8 years later, here we are, and that same spirit of manipulation showed up again. And it was like the Lord said to me, he said, you are so quick to believe or to come in agreement with what is being spoken over you. And he had to show me that it was because of past things, past trauma, past things that people had said and done. And even though I knew it wasn't right, I would always justify it, and I'm willing to just accept your red flags. No, ma'am, not anymore. If what you said to me is opposite what I know where my heart was, I'm no longer going to demonize my own self or beat myself up or sit in a place of condemnation over something that you are stating that I am or that I've done, or how I have this issue or I have this problem and I need this and that and that and that. And not to say that we can't have people correct us or say, hey, you know what? Sis, you know this and that, maybe you should look at it this way, or you need work and blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, God had to show me, he goes, but those things come differently. They don't have condemnation attached to them. He said that spirit of condemnation and fear, none of that is a part of me. And every single time this person has come to give you a word from the Lord or tell you a particular thing, that spirit comes along with it. So I had to be able to say today, you know what? I appreciate you. Thank you for what you've done for me. But I had to come back and state that I do not any longer agree with your perception of where you thought my heart was and what it is you think I needed to do. And I told the person, I realized that I agreed with you, but I'm here today to make sure that I state that I no longer agree with that, because that wasn't where my heart was. That wasn't true about it. And the reality is that God has to remind all of us to embrace who we are, and also to remember, as 2 Corinthians 2:11 has told us, that we are not ignorant of the enemy's devices. That means there are going to be signs and signals and all of those things, and the Holy Ghost saying, because somebody can say something to me and they could have said the same thing somebody else said, but how they say it do something to my spirit. It'll make my ears stand up, or it'll put up like that shield. And it's not because I'm so damaged and so broken, which the enemy would like for you to believe, but it is because there is something about the spirit behind what they've said and what they've done in their actions that has made the spirit within me, the spirit of God, say, I'm not in agreement with that. And we have to be willing to acknowledge that, accept that, and ask God to show us how to pray, how to make the proper adjustments, and also how to live in truth.
Do you think that sometimes people project who they are onto other people?
Oh, heck yeah. Because at the end of the day, sometimes people can't see who they are, and then other times they do, and they just are, they in their minds really believe that who they are is okay. Like they've lived their lives so long needing to be in control, or always manipulating people, or trying to manipulate and maneuver situations. And so they can't see outside of that, because to them, if I say I'm wrong for this, then maybe I'm saying my mama was wrong, because because she taught me to live like this. Or maybe I'm saying my daddy was wrong because that's who I learned from. So instead of me saying that, hey, even though my mom and my daddy loved me and they taught me the best that they could, what they taught me may not have actually been exactly what God wanted them to teach me. Doesn't mean they have to demonize their parents, but not everybody can be able to separate that and say, hey, this is what happened in my life. What I was taught was not a good thing. And so even though I've embraced that, I need God to heal me and deliver me from that. And so we just have to remember that, again, to not demonize the person, because I didn't demonize that person. I came back and told them I love them and I pray blessings over them and all of the things. But at the end of the day, I also have to accept that when God has given me a word about my life, about a relationship, about business, about whatever it is he has given me a word about, that word has to trump everything, even when that word is about who I am and my value. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, ma'am. People absolutely do project off on you their issues. Like, I'm sure you may have heard where it says hurt people hurt people.
Right.
And I get that. We understand it. But at some point, like, I'm just at this place in my life where I just believe that at some point when you're going to grow up.
Right.
Because why do I always have to be the Christian and then accept your crap and accept your the way you speak to me, the way you treat me, your attitude, the way you shun people, the way you treat others around us, and your foot never having to be held to the fire for your actions. And so I just no longer accept it or tolerate. Like, this new Vivian, I'm still getting to know her, but I like her real good.
I think I like her. I mean, I don't know.
You don't have to. I love you with my whole heart, but don't nobody have to like this new Vivian, because God is doing a new thing. Can you not perceive it?
I'm just joking, y'all. Yeah,
I know.
I joke a lot. So.
That's her sense of humor, for sure.
It's either dry or really corny.
Or a combination of the two, but we love it because you are absolutely who you are. You are perfect as you are, and you just have the most amazing heart. And I'm not just saying that as your mom, because you know me as your mama. If like your attitude was like, I'd be like, ma'am, check yourself. And you guys have to say, hey, mama, like you did too much this time. And that's what love is.
I checked myself before I wrecked myself.
I love that. So there was this video on I think it was YouTube, on one of the socials or something.
I found it on Instagram.
Yeah, and Sierra sent it to me. There was this little boy, and the news people were there or something like that, and they were showing this new playground or whatever.
This big slide. It was like that metal slide, and it was like a couple. I feel like it was a couple stories high, and it wasn't even like. It was like a metal one, but they had like, I don't know if sheets or like something like
things that they could sit on the slide
right.
down on. Right.
And then it was bumpy, and then like a couple people, like I believe they like injured themselves, and so this little boy, he came down the stairs. He was like, I checked myself before I wrecked myself.
It was absolutely amazing too, because the video was like, you saw him, like they videoed all these people coming down, and you saw all these people coming down the slide, and you had seen him go up, and then the next thing you know, you see him saying, excuse me, so he's coming back down past the other people, and they were like, what happened? He said, I checked myself before I wrecked myself, because he recognized, listen, I was about to go up there and do something I don't think I was ready for. So he turned back and was like, hey, I'm not going to do that. And so that's a lesson for us as we're talking about the bouquet of flags. Like, you might have been like, oh, I'm going to accept this. And you took them flags. It's okay to return them flags and be like, you know what? I'm checking myself before I wreck myself, because I've seen all these signs before. I walked through this type of relationship before. But in this season of my life, I'm not willing to accept that. And so that's when we know that we begin to grow, because when we realize we are attracting the wrong type of people, or maybe, again, the same type of person with a different face, same spirit, different face. And we say, no, I said I wasn't going to do that anymore. Then we either don't accept those red flags, or we give them back, or put them in the wood chipper or the incinerator, because we are no longer allowing those things in our life and in this season of our lives. And I need y'all to know that it is absolutely okay to walk away from people, relationships, whatever you're being called to walk away from. Notice
places,
I said
things.
Call, exactly. Notice I said call to walk away from, because sometimes you just need to set your boundaries and say what they are, and God is not moving you, because you don't want to get into a place of running every time some particular thing shows up, because the enemy will always use that thing to keep you on the run instead of you standing your ground and getting what God has for you. So it's okay to walk away when you're called to walk away. But something I heard yesterday, and it blessed me so good, and God brought that thing back in my spirit today. I was listening to Stephanie E.K. Okafor, and she was preaching, and I can't remember the title of the sermon, but she said, in this season, God is calling you to walk away from some things, or to in a relationship, state why. This is like, I'm walking away, but it's not that I'm gonna just walk away. I'm gonna have this grown up conversation, or at least express what you did, how what you did made me feel, or that this is the reason why I left. Period. Point blank. I actually saw someone post yesterday, and they said, "I absolutely promise you, it was nobody else. But I can't stay, or I can't be with you, and you know why." And left it at that. And I, at that point, I was like, "Ooh, prayers being answered." But that person was able to say, "I'm not gonna blow this out on Facebook. I know you saying whatever, it's whatever, but it ain't nobody else. I love you. You know why." And they checked out like deuces, because at the end of the day, I've expressed it. We've had this grown person conversation, and your bouquet of flags are no longer acceptable as roses, because right. I don't want flags. And roses might have some thorns, but baby, a flag, roses with a thorn, to me is so much better than a flag. So I'll take your roses. I'll take who you are with your thorns when you show up genuinely, authentically, and you're willing to allow God to help you in those thorny places. You understand me? Because we all got thorny places. Right. So if you can show up and accept my thorny places, and I can accept your thorny places, because we've been authentic, then hey, we cool. We can roll with this bouquet, and maybe that bouquet will grow into something less thorny, or maybe with the thorns, because now there's sunflowers and all the other things that are now being added to this bouquet of love or friendship or relationship, making it an even larger, more beautiful bouquet than the thorns of your roses ain't sticking me, because it has all these other things surrounding it that is keeping those thorns from being thorny.
I thought you were saying you were going to mix, like, I don't know, like cross breed two flowers.
Oh, no.
Okay, no. I was like, hold up.
We ain't Listen, we ain't creating stuff like them doggone cats they done mixed with tigers and panthers or whatever. And
that's just weird to me.
Listen,
I just
because they think it's a game, and they wake up one day and that thing bigger than them and acting crazy. No, because it's still gonna have the tendencies of that. But let me quit talking about people and their pets, because I know how people feel about their pets, and we not gonna go there. Please don't write us, don't email me, don't text me, don't tell me nothing about pets, because I said what I said. I said what I said. But we appreciate y'all listening, and I'm not against y'all pets. I'm just saying I ain't got none, and I don't want to offend y'all, so we're going to wrap this up.
And I have one more thing to say. This is a side note to all my simmers out there. Please feed your cow plants, because you don't want them eating your Sims. Okay, I'm out.
Well, she's out, and we about to be out together. We want to thank y'all for listening to the podcast, The Recovery Life After Heartbreak, with your hosts,
CiCe
and Vivian, and we'll talk to you guys next week. God bless. There is life after their heartbreak. If you'd like to tell your story, please click the link in the bio to apply to be on the podcast. And if you are chosen, you will hear from one of our team members. Thank you in advance for listening, and be sure to click the subscribe link so that you can subscribe and remain up to date on all of our new episodes and everything else that is the recovery.